Have you ever wondered, walking through the halls of a museum, what is the value of the paintings hanging on the walls? I always have. Looking at the different masterpieces, I tried to grasp the precious elements, the meaning, the quantity of a certain color, the author, and many others. In the end, however, it was just a matter of imagining how much such an object could be sold in an hypothetical auction. From this concept, the Data Art project was born. An innovative idea that will look at the characteristic of a painting in a more quantitative and data-driven way to obtain a solid basis that art professionals can rely on in their evaluations. Basically, there are two hypotheses that we want to prove. First, the application of a machine learning methods during the data collection step will allow the creation of a richer database. This will be done using image recognition algorithms, such as neural networks, which will allow us to observe more details from the works of art themselves, such as the presence of a certain common element within the paintings, or the preponderance of a color in the works by a given artist. Second, the use of machine learning models to estimate the value of the work will improve the predictive accuracy while maintaining constant the interpretability of the model itself. This is the focus of our idea. Indeed, on one hand, we do not want to use models that are too simple, which will result in unrealistic hypotheses. And on the other hand, we want to make sure that our method will not result in a black box that only professionals can understand. Once we have obtained a framework for physical works of art, we will shift the focus to digital ones and to the non-fungible tokens market used for their exchange to identify differences and synergies with respect to the previous points. Given this comprehensive coverage, data art is an ambitious and highly interdisciplinary research. The main objective will be to build a bridge between two subjects that only apparently appear to be very different from each other: arts and data science. The main strength of our methods will be to deepen what it means to produce and trade art, so that the developed pricing algorithms reflect the meaning and purpose of the work of art itself. The idea is not to stop at the art products, but to analyze and apply our models also to other collectibles to create an interpretable tool that can be used to correct the biases that may arise in these fields. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Mirella Puleva and I am one of the winners of the IIS PhD projects. Mine is about approaching quantum mechanical accuracy for drug protein binding with the aid of machine learning. It's a collaborative effort between the theoretical chemical physics group of Professor Tkachenko, also with supervisor Dr. Madran Sandonas, and the Center for Systems Biomedicine and Professor Skupin's group. What we're trying to do is make a model that estimates accurately the protein binding affinity. And this is a critical value because it tells us whether or not an interaction between a protein and a ligand, i.e. our small drug molecule here in the binding pocket, would actually take place. And this is of crucial importance because proteins can be very versatile and in functionality. And nowadays, they're about 80% of the drug targets. Of course, it's not a straightforward issue. We have to take into account, on one hand, the molecular interaction. So chemical bonds, electrostatics, this is the domain of classical molecular mechanics models. But also, we need to look at the intermolecular interactions. And here we're taking into account dispersion, polarization effects. So this is where quantum mechanics really comes into effect and influences the end result a lot. And also we're looking at the scale between molecules. Those interactions are also not taking place into a vacuum. We're working within a chemical environment, so we have to take into account also the surveyation effects. So this is a very interdisciplinary challenge, drawing from biomolecular targets which are suitable for biomedical applications, to chemistry and physics, all the way down to quantum mechanics, for creating a very accurate protein binding affinity model, and thus accelerating the pipeline for drug candidates and their screening. The way we go about this is using quantum mechanics and machine learning, because we want the high accuracy of quantum mechanics, which we don't quite get with approximated quantum mechanics methods like DFTB. So improving on that accuracy would be used through machine learning. And we want also to have this applicable to a large protein system size, and in that take account into the long range interactions. And we want to also use machine learning because that would give us a feasible time complexity and have it have our model be transferable. So not just model one protein with some drug targets, but train the model on a range of proteins and have it also applicable to class or a set of proteins. So in the end, we want a hybrid quantum mechanics machine learning model. And some steps have already been taken in that direction by Professor Tkachenko's group, where DFTB approximate quantum mechanics methods were used in conjunction with neural networks. But this is on small organic molecules system size, and we want to go to proteins and model the protein ligand binding. So in our outputs, what we want is not just this hybrid quantum mechanics machine learning force field to be able to estimate binding affinity. We wanted to be able to do so with a really high accuracy necessary for biomedical applications. And we wanted to be applicable to a range of proteins. We have to do a rigorous test of our model's performance, and this would require an extensive data set, and there doesn't really exist a benchmark data set in the field, so this would be a challenge. And we also would compare our outputs with those of Professor Skupin's group, in particular the DJ1 protein, where a small mutation really influences the binding affinity with certain drugs and is crucial in understanding some diseases like Parkinson's and some autoimmune diseases. And in the end, we may even compare with experimental results. So that's my project. Thank you for your attention.
Hello everyone, my name is Leo Fel. I come from Croatia and I have completed a master's degree in law in the year 2020 from the Faculty of Law, University of Zagreb. A special focus of interest during my studies has been the field of public law, more specifically constitutional and electoral law. Today I will present you my PhD project, EA Voting, Political and Legal Aspects in the Cyber Era. My supervisors are Professor Josip Laurdic and Professor Peter Ryan. The project consists of two phases. In the first phase, secondary sources representing current scholarly knowledge about EA voting in the three disciplines will be studied, systematized, and interconnected. Of particular interest will be the research literature on EA voting case law, legislative reforms in EA voting countries, reports of national and international bodies on the level of development of EA voting, research on the impact of technology on the entire election process, as well as literature on modern technological methods of EA voting and their characteristics. The second phase of the project includes original empirical research that will consist of the examination of experiences in the countries that have implemented EA voting, including interviews with stakeholders involved in the process of introduction and evaluation of EA voting, analysis of electoral legislation reforms, and selected technological solutions. Professor Peter Ryan and his team will introduce me to the newest advancements in computing science when it comes to secure voting systems, and will help me to get a better sense of the technological side of progress in this area. This will be of crucial importance in evaluating these advancements in the light of prevailing legal norms when it comes to electoral systems and electoral integrity. Professor Josip Lauredic and his team, on the other hand, will assist me in designing and managing the project throughout its duration. Only by fully understanding and relating the theoretical and practical advancements in each of these disciplines, it will be possible to get a comprehensive insight into the issues relating to EA voting that European polities are facing and will continue to face with rapid technological progress. Although this project has a clear European dimension, it is important to note that lessons from relevant non-European experiences will be addressed. The final result of the project will be a dissertation that will be published in the form of a monograph and will put together past experiences and future perspectives of European countries in the field of EA voting. Also, the dissertation will give concrete guidelines to decision makers regarding electoral system reforms. At the end, the project will enable the deepening of scientific knowledge of the area of EA voting and will also help creating beneficial cross-disciplinary connections within the university. Thank you for your attention.
Hello, my name is Lynette Reed. Greetings from Jamaica. It is truly an honor to present the Young Academics Research Project, Mitigator, Microfinance and Inclusive Transformation, Gendered Approaches Targeting Environmental Resilience in Small Island Developing States. As the name indicates, the project looks at microfinance, which is commonly understood as small financial products that usually attract clients from low-income or marginalized communities and who are often underserved by the traditional financial institutions. The project will explore the implications of the gender-climate nexus on resilience building in the Caribbean, looking at linkages between microfinance and household resilience to climate change using the case of the island of Jamaica. As you know, small island developing states are particularly vulnerable to a changing climate and the constant threat of natural hazards. Gender inequalities in access to resources and opportunities systematically disadvantage women and girls in the Caribbean, rendering them even more vulnerable to weather catastrophes, flooding, drought, and rising sea levels, and even less capable of bouncing back after a shock. For this reason, a gender lens is necessary when studying socio-ecological phenomena, such as climate resilience, and to have an understanding of the differential and unequal impacts of climate change on women and men and on their resilience capacities. The analytical foundation of this research, therefore, is the premise that vulnerability is socially constructed. I will explore the relationship between gender and vulnerabilities to climate change. If vulnerabilities to climate change are gendered, then responses for resilience building must be as well. Vulnerability is perceived as a condition that can be transformed through policy initiatives and targeted interventions, including gender-responsive microfinance. The main objective of this study, therefore, is to understand whether microfinance promotes transformation, fostering resilience against climate change impacts in households and communities that are socio-ecologically vulnerable. The study will focus on women's resilience, as women are central to resilience building at the household and community levels in Jamaica, given their position and role in society as the primary caregivers, heads of households, and entrepreneurs. Economically empowered women can champion community resilience. A number of barriers, however, limit them, including limited access to affordable and gender-sensitive financial services. Finally, although gender is a crucial facet of vulnerability, gender intersects with other contextual conditions, which can be linked to the broader policy environment. For this reason, policy coherence for sustainable development will be employed as a conceptual approach to look at how a web of policies, markets, and community practices interact and either contribute to or mitigate prominent socio-ecological vulnerabilities. So a combination of qualitative and quantitative research methods will be employed to explore these questions. Now, this may be a study of a Caribbean small island developing state, but it has far-reaching implications for several other developing countries where women play equally central roles. My own personal, academic, and professional experiences have inspired my project. I'm from the Caribbean islands of Jamaica and St. Kitts and Nevis, and my academic background is in international relations, specializing in international cooperation and development studies. I'm passionate about development and in particular the cross-cutting themes of gender equality and climate change. My work in development finance field and within international organizations has revealed the need for robust research to quantify and qualify the relationship between climate change and gender, and for empirical evidence to guide development interventions through microfinance programs. The interest in these topics comes naturally. I'm from a region where development and the environment are inseparable, and where gender relations tend to exacerbate the vulnerabilities to climate change. I also grew up in a female-headed household. The Mitigator project will therefore look at the intersection between microfinance, gender equality, and climate resilience in small island developing states, and therefore the interactions between economic, social, and environmental systems, drawing on analysis from different disciplines. This research involves the study of the social construction of vulnerability, and vulnerability is by its very nature interdisciplinary, thus requiring interdisciplinary approaches and responses. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the IAS for choosing to support this project, which is very near and dear to my heart, and which will make important contributions to academia, to policymaking, and to industry. I would also like to give special thanks to my supervisors at the University of Luxembourg, Professor Harlan Koch and Professor Conchita D'Ambrosio, who have been extremely supportive thus far and whose continued support guarantee the success of this project. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye.
Hello everyone, I'm Xiaowei Chen. I do appreciate this great opportunity to introduce my research project, Achieving Effective and Sustainable Anti-Phishing Solutions, collaborated with Professor Koenig and Professor Lanzini. I graduated with a bachelor degree in journalism and a Master of Science degree in media management. My social science studies, including communication theory and media studies. I received my academic training in KTH Royal Institute of Technology and KU Leuven. I'm interested in human-computer interaction techniques, latest media technology, and interactive design methods. Additionally, I'm a big fan of data analysis tools, such as SPSS, R programming, and Python visualization. My IAS project, exploring applying human-computer interaction techniques and psychology methods to raise users' cybersecurity awareness, achieving effective and sustainable anti-phishing solutions. According to FBI, phishing attacks were the most prevalent internet crimes in the US in 2020. In the past 5 years, there has been a surge in phishing cases. In 2020, phishing caused over 54 million direct loss. Phishing attacks are interdisciplinary by nature. When we examine a typical phishing attack, we can find the social engineering tactics in text, malwares, or rogue websites to breach the computer system, and faking or similar interfaces to trick users and multiple devices. Phishing involves from desktop emails and malicious websites to social media, mobile applications, and online services. Current technical and training countermeasures are insufficient to protect users. Unconventional solutions are required. Therefore, this project proposes an interdisciplinary approach, leveraging expertise in cybersecurity, psychology, and and human-computer interaction. It will foster a fruitful collaboration among the 3 research project partners. The Human-Computer Interaction Research Group at the Faculty of Humanity, Education, and Social Science. Social-Technical Cybersecurity Interdisciplinary Research Group at the SNT and SIU, the IT department at the University of Luxembourg. Here is a preliminary schedule of the project. In stage 1, I will study the research question: why are certain phishing tactics effective for specific user groups? I intended to find the relation between social engineering principles and user susceptibility. In stage 2, I will explore the research question: how can we make anti-phishing training programs more effective? One solution I postulate is to design more personalized and interactive security training programs by means of human-computer interaction and gamification techniques. In stage 3, I will explore how can we make anti-phishing solutions more sustainable. My proposed solutions are creating more secure interfaces by participatory design. The new interface will be tested in a longitudinal study. Additionally, the new interface will integrate with persuasive designs, which could motivate users to report suspicious mails and eventually cultivate reporting phishing email habits. The following points made this project creative. First, the project combines self-reported data and database analysis to find a correlation between social engineering principles and user susceptibility. Second, the project applies human-computer interaction techniques such as persuasive design and interactive design, and psychology methods in security training design. Thirdly, the project seeks more sustainable solutions to counter phishing problems. The project will benefit more users compared with the common workplace-oriented security training programs. Thank you so much for your attention. I look forward to collaborating with you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Tobias Fischbach. I'm 26 years old from Felbert, Germany, and I'm pleased to introduce my PhD project to you. After my A-level exams, I graduated from the Traditional Physics Bachelor program between the Université de Lorraine, University of Luxembourg, and Saarland University. Currently, I'm about to complete the Binationals Master's program between the University of Luxembourg and Saarland University. My PhD topic is using non-equilibrium thermodynamics to optimize the energy demand of computation, or in short, NETCOM. NETCOM is a joint project between the Complex Systems and Statistical Physics group and the Parallel Computing and Optimization group with Matteo Politini and Pascal Bouvier as my principal supervisors. The digital world consumes 3 to 4% of the world's power consumption, increasing 9% per year, of which 20% is due to data centers. Moreover, data centers play a vital role in today's cloud computing workflow, and saving energy is one contribution to reduce climate change. With NETCOM, we aim to increase the energy efficiency of data centers and algorithms. We will achieve energy efficiency improvements by modeling data centers and algorithms as communication processes analogous to chemical reaction networks found in non-equilibrium thermodynamics. In thermodynamics, energy and information are interchangeable terms. Hence, this modeling technique opens a complete thermodynamical toolbox. During the first phase of NETCOM, we will publish the easy-to-use and high-performance stochastic simulation and analysis suite for chemical reaction networks I am currently working on. Next, we will extend the simulation suite to model networks of communication processes as well. This extension enables us to investigate and optimize such network structures and computational workloads for power consumption. The second stage focuses mainly on the structure optimization of communication process networks and new power and efficiency metrics. Essentially, we want to investigate the energy demand of computation at two levels. First, at the data center level, second, at an algorithmic level. Chemical reaction networks consist of reactants and products connected according to their reaction. The reactions perform a stochastic process following the master equation. Some modifications to chemical reaction networks are required to adopt this concept to data centers. The reactants and products now represent different data center gear, for example switches, storage servers, or high-performance servers. And the reaction models the data packet exchange between them. In addition, the state of the gear is changed based on the data flow and hardware properties. For example, the equipment's usage, bandwidth, energy consumption, and energy efficiency. The introduction of new power and efficiency metrics will optimize the hardware setup and the workload distribution inside the network concerning energy efficiency. Modeling algorithms as a communication process network is earlier in our thought process. Currently, we have two concepts to approach this idea. One approach would model the communication process between different operations and optimize the resulting network to execute operations for energy efficiency. In addition, we will derive new power and efficiency metrics for several algorithms. For example, we will derive new metrics balancing energy efficiency and predictive accuracy by determining the energy required to update neurons in neural networks. In the third and last stage, we will introduce workload distribution and schedule algorithms to increase the energy efficiency of data centers and algorithms. I want to thank Matteo Politini and Pascal Bouvier for their commitment, and the IAS for the necessary funding of NetCom. I am grateful for this opportunity. I appreciate your attention, and if you have any ideas, thoughts or questions, don't hesitate to contact me through my email fischbach.tobias-michael@outlook.com or during the conference break. I am delighted about every occasion to get into a scientific exchange with you.
Hello, my name is Nora Nikolai, and today I want to present you my project LeukoKids, Impact of Early Life Stress on Children with Leukemia. And first of all, I want to say thank you to all members of the IS community to listen to this short presentation of the project LeukoKids, together with my very well-guiding supervisors, Professor Vögele, Professor Massar, and Professor Brenner. Imagine you could tailor-make a cancer therapy for each individual patient. We aim to change the treatment paradigm for cancer patients worldwide. That's the vision of Professor Ugo Shahin. He's the CEO of BioNTech. And I would like to say, imagine the psychological, medical and epigenetic basic and intervention research we conduct within our LeukoKids team could be used to work on this overall goal with a particular focus on optimizing acute treatment and aftercare concepts for children with leukemia. I'm majoring in psychology at the University of Luxembourg, and next to my major I'm highly interested in interdisciplinary work, especially in fields such as medicine and epigenetics. And that's why I've taken several courses ranging from public health to molecular and cell biology at the University of Berkeley during my exchange semesters abroad. Also, during the last years of studying, I gained deep insights into the work with traumatized children, which personally interests me. Traumatizing and stressful events are often experienced by children with leukemia, for example through several acute stressors such as invasive medical procedures like chemotherapy. Such events, named early life stress, ELS, can impact the short and long-term mental and physical health of those children. What previous findings indicate is that early life stress is involved in the etiology of internalizing disorders such as post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety and depression, and also stress regulation dysfunctions. However, post-traumatic growth seems to be also possible. In both cases, whether the development of internalizing disorders or post-traumatic growth, ELS is associated with psychological, psychophysiological, and molecular biological changes. And recent findings also indicate that ELS is linked to epigenetic changes. So taken together, in previous findings, early life stress has been associated with mental health disorders, psychophysiological and even epigenetic changes. But it remains unclear what changes can be observed in children with early childhood leukemia at psychological, psychophysiological, molecular and epigenetic levels and how they are related to each other. That leads us to Goal 1. We examine the different processes in the context of early life stress events operationalized as leukemia in children who received chemotherapy. If these children had to go through the experience of chemotherapy with all related feelings of strain and stress, they need the best possible aftercare treatments through psychological interventions to minimize negative health outcomes. But it still remains also unclear what impact a brief cognitive behavioral intervention can have in children with early childhood leukemia at the different levels. That leads us to Goal 2. We investigate the efficacy of a brief cognitive behavioral intervention for children with early childhood leukemia to mitigate negative experiences of acute early life stresses, such as an invasive medical procedure, and its impact of the different mechanisms. The study is a longitudinal project consisting of 2 studies, one observational part and one interventional. We will investigate 36 8 to 14 years old children with early childhood onset leukemia who have undergone medical treatment, chemotherapy, and 36 8 to 14 years old healthy children in the control group. We have 3 assessment points with an overall period of 12 months, to which we assess semi-structured diagnostic interviews, psychological questionnaire, salvia and blood samples. In Study 2, the intervention study, we assign half of the children with early childhood onset leukemia, chemotherapy experiences and mental health systems randomly to a brief cognitive behavioral intervention. So what is novel in our study? So far, there are no longitudinal studies examining the psychological consequences of ELS in children with early childhood leukemia using an interdisciplinary approach with semi-structured interviews or measures at the psychophysiological, molecular, and epigenetic level. Our expected outcomes can help to advance personalized medicine and ensure high-quality care for affected children. It is expected that children with a history of leukemia who have had stressful experiences and exhibit symptoms of internalizing behavior such as trauma, anxiety, and depression will show specific alterations in epigenetics, stress, and emotion regulation, and therefore differ in their biological and epigenetic regulatory mechanisms from healthy children. And in addition, a brief cognitive behavioral intervention is expected to contribute to reduced stress levels and improved outcomes in mental and physical health. Thank you.
Dear all, my name is Stanislav Gubenko. I'm a young academics doctoral candidate at the University of Luxembourg. Unfortunately, I cannot be present offline with you today, but I have prepared a small video to present myself and my research project. I'm a positive, optimistic and peaceful Russian who loves to study, to travel and loves his wife. My scientific interests include Chinese foreign policy, human rights, international relations, intercultural communication and infrastructure development. And my research project in Luxembourg is dedicated to China's infrastructure development in Europe from a human rights perspective. I will particularly focus on the cases of Italy and Ukraine. The main idea is to analyze how mega infrastructure projects and human rights interplay. And I will do it by looking at modern Chinese infrastructure development in Europe from a human rights perspective. China is rising globally. It is gradually moving from a human rights pariah state to an active participant and shaper of the global human rights governance. And it's promoting its infrastructure projects in Europe and all over the world. So we need to understand the impact of the Chinese infrastructure development in Europe from a human rights, from a legal perspective. And we also need to analyze how China's human rights paradigm is evolving with the implementation of infrastructure projects abroad. To conduct my research, I have decided to choose 2 case countries, Ukraine and Italy. Both of them are actively involved in China's
infrastructure development abroad. To do my research, I have decided to use mixed research methods. So in the first part, I will conduct content and discourse analysis of primary sources. And in the second part, I will conduct interviews with several target groups, both in China and in Europe. I will analyze the findings with the help of realist international relations paradigm and game theory. I hope that my project will help to build the reputation of the University of Luxembourg as the world center of academic excellence in interdisciplinary science. I'm very happy to join the...
Hi, my name is Mariam Abad Andalusi, and I'm here today to introduce myself and introduce the topic of my PhD thesis on image-informed biomechanical brain tumor forecast modeling. This project will be supervised jointly by Dr. Stefan Bordas and Dr. Andreas Hosch. So before starting to talk about my topic, I would like to tell you a bit about my background. So I grew up in Morocco and I studied there up until high school. In 2013, I decided to move to France to prepare for an engineering school, which I joined in 2015 to study mechanics and mathematical modeling, and more specifically, materials and structures. During this period, I wanted to have international experience, so I moved to Sweden for 6 months to study applied mechanics in Chalmers, and I prepared an internship at Imperial College to study wave propagation using finite element software. Following these experiences, I did my master thesis in Safran in aeronautics, working on the dimensioning of engines disks in overspeed, and I continued working with them for 6 more months. And at this point, I wanted to do research, so I moved to Delft to work on the static and fatigue response of composite structures for 10 months. At this point, I started asking myself questions about the application of my degree. And since I was interested in the clinical field, I prepared another master's degree at ENSAM in Paris in biomechanics. So at the end of this master's program, I did my master thesis at the lab of my school, at the startup Bon 3D and Hôpital Necker Enfants Malades, and I worked on a finite element model of cranial growth. So I'm here today to talk to you about my next project, which revolves around the glioblastoma, which is a grade 4 tumor as classified by the World Health Organization. It consists 15 to 20% of all primary intracranial tumors, and it has a 5-year survival rate of 4.1%. It is usually managed with maximal resection surgery and adjuvant radiochemotherapy. However, there is still a high propensity for tumor recurrence, 32 to 36 weeks, and this is why we need to improve the diagnosis and optimize the radiotherapy plans, and to do so, we need patient-specific modeling. Different models are available in literature to study tumor growth. So deep learning methods rely on neural networks to predict the evolution of the tumor. The mechanistic mathematical models rely on reaction diffusion methods to study the growth of the tumor. And each method has its advantages and drawbacks. So as the first one captures the general trend, it is very challenging to be reproducible and it needs a large number of data. On the other hand, the biomechanical models rely on imaging data. They need a large number of parameters and they try to produce rather difficult biological aspects. So the objectives of my work will be to study the deep learning-based automated image segmentation methods, the hierarchical computational models for tumor growth, to integrate both models and to measure the clinical outcome, and finally to select one model and improve it. So as I said, I will work jointly with the LCSV Neuroscience Intervention Group and the FSTM Computational Mechanics Group to calibrate the models and train the neural networks with labeled clinical data at the CHL. And so both models will be integrated and validated with jointly both faculties. And using clinical data from external partners. And finally, the clinical outcome will be measured and one model will be selected. So to conclude, this project is at the crossroads of different disciplines: mechanics, computer science, clinics, and biology. All of this in order to prepare a patient-specific mathematical model and hopefully be able to optimize and adapt the adjuvant radiochemotherapy treatment. So I can't wait, and I'm very excited to start my projects at the University of Luxembourg, and thank you all for your attention.